Good morning, everybody. I'm Barry Cowan, the president of the Deerfield Beach Computer Club here in sunny Deerfield Beach, Florida. Today's special guest is well known throughout the nation as as the author of the best-selling book, Is This Thing On? In its now third edition and over 300,000 copies sold. Our guest speaker really needs no introduction, but I'm going to give it to her anyway. I'm proud to call her a friend of mine in this club, and today she's going to give a very relevant presentation on the topic. There's an app for that, and I'm sure everybody will learn a great deal from her. So let's give a warm Deerfield Beach Computer Club welcome to Abby Stokes.
Doing it via the internet as opposed to being face-to-face with you guys, so I'm very happy to be back. What I want to talk about today is I want to walk you through sort of what an app is and how it works with your device, and to choose how to choose the best apps for your device. So when we're talking, I'm going to be toggling back and forth between my PowerPoint presentation and the screen. So I'm going to try that right now, the first toggle attempt. Let's see how it goes. Okay, you should be seeing my screen now instead of me.
Yeah.
Blatant advertising for the book. But here what we're looking at both smartphones in the top right corner, tablets in the lower part of this screen, and then a laptop in the top left. And the reason I show you all three of these is you have been using apps on your computer for a very long time. Except on your computer, like the laptop in the top left corner, you used to call them software programs or software applications. And now that's been shortened to apps. And so when we think of an app, we think of an app being on a handheld device and not on a computer. But in fact, the word application and software application was what we used to use when we were on computers. So primarily what we're going to talk about today is putting an app either on your smartphone or on your tablet, and it doesn't matter whether your smartphone is an iPhone, which is an Apple product, or an Android, which is basically almost every other manufacturer of a smartphone, whether it's a Sony, a Fujitsu, an Ericsson, whatever it is, those all fall under the umbrella of an Android, and then we've got the iPhone as its own sort of entity. They're all smartphones. The same distinction is made with tablets. There's the iPad, which is a tablet, and then there are the Android tablets on the other side, which are mostly driven by Google's operating system. So let's first, before we talk about apps, some of you, when I've spoken there before, have seen this slide I'm about to show you. I want to talk a little bit about some safety issues, since what we're talking about are handheld devices, before we get to talking about apps. So let's go back again to our screen share here. And the slide I want to show you, if you remember it, is if we're using handheld devices, we tend to have a very bad habit of holding them down and looking down at them, whether it's a smartphone or whether it's a tablet. So I just want to remind you, if you look at the last person on the right, if you hold your head down 60 degrees, it's the equivalent of 60 pounds pulling down on your head, which is the equivalent of 3 gallons of paint. So when we talk about using smartphones and tablets, I want you to always think of this diagram and remember that even 15 pounds, which is the person one over, 15 pounds is, 15 degrees is 27 pounds pulling down on your spine. So when you're using that smartphone or you're using that tablet, I really want to try to say, we're talking about apps, but let's talk about that device and make sure that you hold it up here and do yourself a favor and not put any strain on your back or on your neck. The other thing before we get to talking about apps is when you're connected to the internet using your smartphone or using your tablet, you have two ways of connecting to the internet. There's using Wi-Fi and there's using your cellular data plan. Your cellular data plan came with your phone, but it's the connection that you make to the internet using the satellite, whether it's AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, T-Mobile, that's their satellite connection. Wi-Fi is when you're feeding off a signal that's provided in the room that you're in, whether it's your computer user group room, whether it's the local library, at an airport, or in your house. Wi-Fi is that connection where you feed off the signal coming in via a modem in the space. And the reason I make this distinction for you is when you decided to add a new app to your phone, you're best to do it in a space where there's Wi-Fi and to be sure that you're connected to the Wi-Fi. Because Wi-Fi is generally a faster signal to pull something onto your device, and it's also free. You know, when you're using your data plan, it's a limited commodity. You pay for a certain amount of data, but when you're on the Wi-Fi, it doesn't matter how much is being pulled into your phone. So anytime that you're thinking, oh, I want to add an app to my phone, be sure that you're someplace where there's a Wi-Fi signal, because it'll all go much faster and it won't use up your data. So now let me go back. I'm going to go back to another slide here. Do a little screen share. Hold on. So we're talking about putting an app onto your phone. And so those apps need to come from somewhere. And in this case, it depends on the kind of phone you're using for which button it is you're going to tap on to be able to add an app to your phone or to your tablet. So what you see on the screen here are three different icons. The top left icon indicates the app store if you're using an Apple product. So if you have an iPhone or an iPad, that's the button you're going to tap on in order to access the store that gives you what available apps there are on your device. The top right image that you're looking at is for Microsoft. So if you have a Microsoft smartphone or a Microsoft tablet, that's what you want to tap on to get to their store. And the bottom one in the center is if you have an Android device and you want to add an app onto your device, that's the image that you're going to look for to add it on if it's an Android. And basically, an Android is any device that's not Apple and not Microsoft. So all the others fall underneath that blanket of Android. So when you tap on that icon to access the store that brings you the available apps for your device, they're going to want to have you do something first. Before you can add an app to your device, even if it's free, they want you to put in your credit card information. So don't be put off by that. They want to have your credit card information there in case you decide to add an app that costs money. But they won't charge you for apps that are obviously free. Now, I am a Connecticut Yankee, and I do not pay for apps. I do not pay for books online. I do not pay for music online, because to me it's sort of a slippery slope. It sounds like 99 cents here or $1.99 there or $4.99, but in fact, all of a sudden it adds up and I will have exceeded my budget. So I only add apps onto my smartphone and tablet that are free. But I know that Apple requires that I have an up-to-date credit card listed with them just in case I decide to use it. So don't feel like it means you can't put free apps on your phone or your tablet without putting the credit card in. You've got to put the credit card in whether you're going to use it or not. I know it stops a lot of people, that's why I bring it up. But I cannot emphasize enough, there are hundreds and thousands of free apps to put on your phone. And sometimes a company will design an app that is free, which offers you some of the capability of the app, and then they offer for you to upgrade to pay for even more features. My experience is the free app usually has more features than I could use. But obviously, if you don't mind paying for it, go forth and pay for it. I'm just cheap. So when you go to the App Store for any of these products, whether it's a Microsoft product, an Apple product, or a Google product on your Android, they're going to give you categories for you to look around and see what apps might appeal to you. So there'll be an area where you can type in keywords yourself, but they're going to show you categories that are free apps, what are the trending apps, and then they break them down into travel, entertainment, you name any of those topics that interest you, and you'll be able to find an app for it. So as far as choosing apps for yourself, before you go to the App Store, I would either ask some other people that use their smartphone or tablet more than you do, what are your 5 favorite apps? Or email your grandkid or text them and say, I'm thinking of adding some apps onto my phone. What is it that you use? Because that'll give you some ideas. I always think if it's the first time you're adding an app to your phone and you're doing it because you want to learn how to add an app, that's never going to be as fun as wanting to add a specific app to your phone, because then you have a goal that actually has a benefit to you. So it's not just learning how to do the app, it's actually making sure you're heading in a direction for something that will benefit you. So before you decide to venture forth with adding an app to your phone, have some choices of things that you think would interest you. Barry can turn you in the direction of my website after the talk, because I have a list on my website that you can print that are 100 selected apps that I just went through different categories and organized 100 apps by categories, and the ones that I list are all free. So, you can start out with the free ones before you decide to pay for them. So be sure that you either search by keywords that interest you for the apps, or go through their categories and drill down to see what it is you want. We're going to go back to a slide here in a second. Hold on. There we go. So, for example, this is my favorite app on the internet of all apps. It is called Sit or Squat. It is sponsored by Charmin, and basically it finds where you are and it tells you where the nearest public toilet is. Which, no matter where I am, it always comes in handy. And because many of these apps are interactive with their users, it's not just that it tells you where the public toilet is, it also has the users give you descriptions of well, you've got to go into this hotel lobby and go to the right, and make sure you have a room, tell them you have a room there to let you in, or whether it's dirty or whether it's clean. So it's sort of fascinating. That's what makes, this technology is kind of amazing, because here these apps are on your phone. If you allow them to do it, the app will find where you are. So in this case, Sit or Squat actually finds that I'm in New York, that I'm down on 14th Street, in order to tell me where the nearest bathroom is. But in a general way, all of these apps have the capability of finding where you are if it helps them function. Like if you're using the GPS and it finds where you are. Or if I'm looking for a movie. There are apps to track down movies, like Fandango has an app, and when I get on the app, it finds where I am so it can tell me where the nearest movie is. So some of the apps also allow for interaction with people. So the app not only finds where you are, but it finds other people using that app near you if you want to use that feature. So you don't have to use all of that features, because I know it sounds a little invasive, but the technology is pretty amazing how these apps aren't just a flat map telling you where to go. It actually finds where you are and tells you exactly how to walk from where you are, where you want to go. So Sit or Squat is always, to me, the universal best example of the millions of apps out there. You should venture forth. I've said this before. All of us that have a smartphone or a tablet or visit websites have crossed the digital divide, right? We're across the digital divide. But most of us just hang out on the shoreline, because most of us visit on average on our computers 10 websites, the same 10 websites. Your email, your finances, your shopping, your sports, maybe the weather. When there are hundreds of millions of websites out there. The same thing is true with apps. A lot of us just use the apps that are pre-installed on our phone, which are fine. But there are literally hundreds of millions of apps out there that can add more features to your phone or your tablet that make it much more fun to use. So I sort of get inspired by it, because I want to have people really enjoy their device, but cater to what interests you. So that's why I sort of, I encourage you to go out there and venture forth and kind of challenge yourself to add an app a week to your device. You can always get rid of it if you decide it's not that beneficial, but it's really fun to see what's out there. So I'm going to go back to my screen share again, because we're going to talk about social networking and apps. So social networking, I know the last time I spoke to you guys, it was apparent that most of you were on Facebook, some of you were on Twitter, and not as many of you were on Instagram. That may have changed over time. And some of you, as we all did, raise our hands and think social networking is a bit of hooey no matter what you're on. These are the most popular social networking apps that are used on smartphones and tablets. And interestingly, 85% of people who access Facebook access it on a handheld device such as a smartphone or a tablet versus their computer. So more and more people are using what's in your hand to access these social networking websites rather than going on their computer. Again, for those of you that have seen me speak before, I think you will remember the front door test. But whether you're doing Facebook on your phone or on your computer or Twitter or Instagram, we want to be sure that we protect our privacy. So I'm going to talk about that in 1 second. But what's interesting is all three of these also appear as websites. And that's something that's really interesting about using an app on your phone or tablet versus visiting a website. You know, in the beginning I said that apps are programs. Well, some apps are just like software programs, and some of them mirror what websites are doing. So really, apps sort of cover both categories. So if there's a website that you really like to use on your computer, shopping on Amazon, or listening to your Kindle, reading your Kindle, or visiting Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, or whether it's finding the train times from, you know, what a website that you visit. Most websites have a companion app. So it's another time to think about, forget about going to the App Store and looking for an app there. First step for you is to say, what websites do I visit regularly? Maybe that's what I should be looking for as an app, because then it's familiar to me. It's someplace I usually go anyway, but now I'm going to go to it using my smartphone or my tablet. So if you're really used to visiting things on your computer, that's a perfect example of something that you might put onto your phone or tablet because it's familiar, and obviously it's useful or beneficial to you because it's what you choose to visit. So it's just another thing to keep in mind to get you excited about putting some apps on your phone. It's just happen to be the websites that you visit. It's not true of all websites. Not all websites have a companion app, and usually because of the limitation of, you know, the size of what you're looking at, it's designed slightly differently than what you see on the website. It may not have all the features, or you might have to search around a little bit more to see what's there. Sort of the universal symbol when you're looking at an app on your phone for the menu to get more information, because it is condensed, is usually up in the upper left-hand corner of the app. There'll be 3 lines sitting on top of each other. If you click on those or tap on those 3 lines, that's usually where the menu opens up to let you see the other features of the app that they've had to sort of condense. So let's go, I'm just going to walk you through a little bit of, we sort of understand why you would use Facebook on your phone if you're using it already. We understand about Twitter. Instagram I want to talk about for just a second because it actually has some features that are really fun for you to use on your phone, even if you aren't using Instagram to share information. So again, let me get that back up on the screen here. So Instagram is an app that allows you to share your photographs versus in Facebook and Twitter where you tend to share word and photographs. I sort of love the notion that on Instagram you don't have to read very much. You're just looking at pictures, and you know, pictures are worth 1,000 words, and that's how Instagram succeeds. But Instagram is an app, it's free, that's on that you can add to your phone or your tablet that allows you to share photographs with other people. But it doesn't just allow you to do that. When you have a photograph on your phone, you can pull it into Instagram's app and you can change the value of the picture. So you actually can put a filter on a photograph to make it look better before you share it on Instagram. Now, most of our phones now have the quality of the camera, and the editing on your phone is quite good. So with Instagram, before my phone was able love to use Instagram because I was able to alter my photographs and make them look better because of this ability to sort of change the tint. Just as a sideline, now with the cameras on your phone, be sure you take advantage of the editing features, because now you really can do all of that within the actual just camera part of your phone. So let's go on from there, from Instagram, and I'm going to bring you back to screen sharing here. Hold on. So we talked about that from my point of view. When I talk to you about what you can do with your smartphone, it doesn't matter whether it's an iPhone, whether it's an Android, or whether it's a Microsoft phone. So all of the apps that I'm suggesting to you, unless I specify otherwise, are apps that are universal, that appear on all three different operating systems, or in all three different stores on the devices offered. So let's talk about travel apps, because I think those are actually super practical and super helpful. So on your phone, you already have a GPS installed. If it's a Google device, you're going to have the G map, the map in the top left there, what has the G on it. That's the app if you have an Android, because that's Google's version of GPS. The one that you're seeing below that is the icon if you have an Apple product. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm Switzerland. I like using the Google Maps, and I like using the iPhone maps. So they both work very well. There's slight differences, but they both work very well. If you've never used the GPS on your phone, it's already there, it's free. You don't want to do it while you're driving, but you could do it while you're walking. Because if you look at the map that I showed you here, in the top line, the phone will find your location if you have your location services turned on, or you could type in your location. Below that is where you type in where you want to go. So in this case, I typed in 15 Lime Street. So it was taking me from my location to 15 Lime Street. And what's really significant now to look at is underneath 15 Lime Street, you see a bunch of choices there. It's actually telling me how long it will take me to get from my location to 15 Lime Street. If I'm in a car, 14 minutes. If I'm on a bus, there wasn't a bus there, that's why it has a little dash. That means they couldn't find public transportation. It tells me how long it would be if I walked, which is 3 hours and 2 minutes. That little guy with the suitcase and his hand up in the air is if you're hailing a taxi. If there were taxi service available, it would tell you how long it would take. And it shows it would take me 1 hour and 3 minutes on a bicycle. So I encourage you to play with the GPS on your phone, to get used to using an app that's free. And it's sort of fun to just see if just walking, where it tells you what routes to take to see if you agree with it or not. So below what you see in the map is actually, they give me some choices. They say it'll take me 14 minutes to drive from Niantic, which is the blue dot, to where the red pointer is, which is my destination. They show me 2 other routes I could tap on. One's 4 minutes slower and one's 5 minutes slower. And that might be if I don't want to go on the highway. So they do give you options. And if I started to follow the route and I went off the route, it would redirect me and tell me how to get back on the route. So you see where I typed in that red arrow? That red arrow is pointing to the blue circle with the white arrow pointing up. My next step is I put in where I started, I put in where I want to go to, it shows me the choice of routes, I decide if I'm walking, riding a bike, or taking a taxi. When I press on that blue circle, what will happen is that when I press on the blue circle, the map will actually come up on the screen and it will start to follow my progress. And when an event comes up, like my having to take a left-hand turn or a right-hand turn, it will actually say, you'll hear it audibly say, in 200 feet, take a right onto Main Street, or in 600 feet, you're going to merge onto 95 or whatever. So you get to see the progress on the map, so you can follow it looking down at it, but they can have audible instructions, so it gives you a warning before you go. Now, I have used it in New York City to show tourists how to get from point A to point B. You know, somebody will ask me how to get there, as the joke always is. They ask how to get to Carnegie Hall. And after I say practice, 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 I show them the map. But but what you can do is you can show maps to show people directions, or if you actually start walking, it moves with you. So the GPS is actually really fun. When you go to the next, there's another page on the GPS that you can look at, which actually gives you the blow-by-blow written instructions of how you're supposed to go, as opposed to it following you. So there's several features about how you can use the GPS. But I would say if you haven't played with the apps on your phone very much, that's one of the first ones to play with, because it's so satisfying that it actually gets you from point A to point B, even if you're not going to use it while you're in transit, but you're just going to look at it to get a sense to look should be taken. I want to do another screen grab with you. Hang on one second, because this is the most important thing. If we're talking about using your GPS, I'm going to say this sternly to you guys, although I think we digital immigrants are better about this than digital natives. You should absolutely, positively never, ever talk on your phone or text on your phone while you're driving. Now, again, I think digital immigrants didn't grow up with that, so we're not likely to do it. But I've had many people say to me, well, I only talk on my phone hands-free, which means they have their phone plugged in and they have a headset in, which means they're not actually holding their phone in their hand. I'm just putting this out there. They've done cognitive studies that prove, yes, it's dangerous to be distracted to dial your phone. That's obviously dangerous. But when you speak on a phone hands-free, cognitively, it removes you from the activity that you're supposed to be doing, which is driving your car. So I don't think, again, most digital immigrants talk on the phone when they're driving, but if you're somebody who does, just stop it. And if you have younger people in your family, it's obviously a greater challenge for them because of what they grew up with. I had my goddaughters when they first turned 16 and were driving. I just had them get in the habit of putting their smartphone in the glove box and closing the glove box so there'd be no temptation to pay attention to the phone while it buzzes and tweets and does all this stuff to get your attention. So nobody should be using their phone at any time when they're driving, exclusive of setting it up for your destination and putting it on your dashboard and just taking a peek at the map as you're driving along. But no setting that up while you're driving. We don't want to have that happen. So let me go to the next slide here. Okay, I'm going to change it again to our screen sharing because we're going to talk about some more travel apps. Okay, these are my favorite travel apps, but they're good apps for many other things as well. And some of these come pre-installed on your phone, and some of them are unique to the App Store. Let's talk about the ones that are common on your phone that come automatically installed. There's a clock, there's a camera, and there'll be some sort of weather app pre-installed on your phone. So let's talk about the clock, the weather app, and the camera as it relates to travel. So the clock on your phone, not only does it obviously have your phone tell you what time it is, but remember when traveling, I always had a little travel clock that I traveled with that was with all of my travel stuff, and whenever I left, I took the travel clock with me so I could set it up on the bedside table wherever I was. Your phone now not only has a clock built in, but it has an alarm built in if you want to set an alarm to wake you up in the morning. It has a world clock installed on it, so it will give you different time zones, and you're able to set it to different locations so you can see the time in multiple places at the same time. There's also a timer and a stopwatch. So like when I do my presentation so that I don't talk forever, I set my timer on my phone for 55 minutes so I know to stop. Or I'll use it when I'm cooking, or I'll use it when I'm exercising. So if you haven't played with the clock feature on your phone, you're really missing out on a very well-designed tool that's already available to you on your phone. So I would challenge you after the meeting today, when you go back to your apartment, if you haven't played with it, just open up the clock app, set the timer, see how that works for you, try to change the time zone to see the time in California, and see what it's like to set the alarm and how that works for you. I will tell you one thing, because I have a friend who travels a lot, but she's not technologically very savvy. She didn't want to use the alarm clock on her phone because she left the volume on her phone, and all night long her phone was tweeting and making sounds when emails came in and text messages came in. And what she didn't know was, when you set the alarm on your phone, you can turn off the volume on your phone, so you can't hear all the signals of what's happening with your phone, and the alarm will still fully sound in the morning. So if you want to use the alarm clock feature on your phone, be sure to turn off the sound so the phone doesn't keep you up all night, and the sound of the alarm will still activate even though the volume's turned off. The phone won't ring, and the phone won't tell you that an email's coming in, but the phone will actually sound the alarm. The feature of the camera, it's interesting. Obviously, you guys know there's a camera on your phone. I don't know how much you're using it, but when it comes to traveling, sometimes when I'm on a business trip, I might be in 3 cities in 3 days with 3 different rental cars, with 3 different hotel doors. What I actually do is I take a picture of the room number when I get to a hotel, so it's on my phone, so I don't think about forgetting it. When I park a rental car in a parking garage, I take a picture of the car so I don't forget what it looks like. But if it's your car and you're familiar with it, think of the camera when you park your car in the parking lot of a big mall. Take a picture of where you parked it, and then you don't have to wonder when you get out to the parking lot, geez, where did I park the car? So I use it for audio. The camera is such an interesting feature because it's not just about you taking pictures of your granddaughter at her ballet recital. Nobody needs to use a fax machine anymore or a scanner, because if you have a document that you signed that you need to send out to your attorney for some reason and you don't have a fax machine in your house, all you have to do is take a picture of that document, and then you can send it as an attachment with your email to your attorney. So don't limit yourself to thinking of the camera as just a way to capture holiday events or birthdays or something. The camera can be used for some. I was in a very sketchy hotel once, and I was not convinced about whether or not, the maid was going to go into my drawer or whatever. Sometimes I'll take a picture of how I've left things in the hotel room so I can tell if somebody's moved my stuff around. So the camera has tons and tons of features that you might not be using, along with the feature that you can now edit the photographs. So I take lousy pictures, but I take fantastic pictures with my smartphone because I can crop them, I can change the color, I can get rid of the red eye. So again, you have this free app on your phone that you probably haven't been utilizing very much, but there's so many features to play with just the phone app on your phone. The third one that I mentioned that's universal on everybody's phone is the weather. There'll be a weather app, whether it's the Weather Channel on yours or not. Every smartphone comes with a weather app. Again, not only can you obviously see the weather where you're at, but if you have loved ones who are traveling other places, or if you're going to travel someplace, you can put in different locations and track the weather in places more than just where you are. So I encourage you, it's a simple app to use, the weather app, but I encourage you, if you sort of want to play around and get used to apps on your phone, that's a good one to play with, and every phone has it. Let me go back to that screen grab again, because we're going to talk about those other travel apps that I thought are very helpful. Up in the top left-hand corner is the iTranslate app. The way that works is you can type in English words, sentences, paragraph, and it will translate it into whatever language you want, or vice versa. So if you're looking at something in a foreign language and you want to translate it, you can type it into the phone and it'll show you how it translates into English, or you can type it back from English into another language. Now, you think it's an app that you're only going to use when you're traveling. I will tell you, I had my windows washed not long ago, and the window washer who came was Polish, and he didn't speak English very well, and he's out on the ledge washing the windows, and he'd been there for quite a while. I have 9 windows in the apartment, and I wanted to make sure that he knew that he could use my bathroom before he left, because he'd been there for a couple of hours. And so I typed it to iTranslate, "Do you want to use my bathroom?" And it translated into Polish, and then I was able to hold my phone up to the window so that he knew that he could use my bathroom you're in some Mediterranean restaurant and you want to look up what an ingredient is, you can use iTranslate to do that. So, and it's free. So iTranslate is a fun app to put onto your phone. Let me go back to the screen again because I want to show you the two other ones for travel. Hold on. There we are. So the two other ones that we're going to talk about are Skype, very important since we're using it right now, and Units. Because even though I list them as travel apps, the fact is they are spectacularly helpful apps to have on your phone. So let's talk about Skype, which we are using right now to communicate with each other. So you can use Skype on a computer, you can use Skype on a smartphone, you can use Skype on a tablet. Skype is free. Whether we're having a webinar from New York to Florida, or whether I'm in Berlin, I could have been anywhere in the world having this webinar with you. And because we're connected using Wi-Fi, which gives us a high-speed connection, you know, we're not using our satellite off-site somewhere. We're actually, I'm connected in and you guys are connected in, so our signal's quite strong. It's free no matter how long you're using it. So Skype isn't just for webinars, it's for when you're traveling, it's for when you want to sit down and make cookies with your nephew who's across the country. You can do it. I could have as easily, steadily just set up my phone and Skyped from here to you guys. So it doesn't require you using a computer, but it's a fantastic feature when you're traveling overseas for you to be able to see people. And if you want to use Skype as a telephone and you're calling somebody who doesn't have a computer, so they don't have a Skype account, you then can pay to use the Skype feature just as a direct phone line. A couple of things, you'll have to register a credit card with them. And so you basically put $10 or $4 or whatever into your Skype account, and it'll feed off that money while you're making this international phone call. I will tell you, having traveled all over the world and using many different phone services, and whether it's with AT&T or Verizon through my phone, to set up a Skype account and use it off of the Wi-Fi in my hotel room, I have made phone calls for 45 minutes to the United States that cost a couple of dollars. So the rate for using Skype, even if you're paying for an international call, is super duper low. So I highly recommend it if you're traveling. Now the last one that I mentioned to you, and I'm going to go back so that you can see it, because it's not familiar to most people, is the bottom left-hand corner. It's called Units, and it's free, of course, because remember, I'm a frugal Yankee. Units allows you to convert anything you can imagine. So obviously, the reason that I use Units when I'm traveling overseas is that I'm doing currency conversion, and it'll convert anything from US dollars to whatever it is you want, or from whatever the currency is to US dollars. But it literally has dozens of categories of other things that it will convert. So if you're trying to figure out feet to a mile, or milligrams to kilograms, or any other unit of measurement that you can imagine, Units is where you can go to convert it. So if I had a cookbook that was from Europe that's measuring in grams, I can go onto Units and I can change it to ounces. Or if I've forgotten from pints to quarts, or whatever it is you can imagine, Units is super duper helpful. So it's not just for travel. It's actually for many different conversions. I think you're going to really like it. So now I want to go back to the screen sharing again, because there's one more I want to actually, a category I want to talk to you about face-to-face. Using the apps from your banks on your phone. Now, I don't want anyone to do anything that they're uncomfortable doing. So I know some people don't like to shop online, and a lot of people don't like to bank online, and for heaven's sake, don't do it if you don't want to. Brick and mortar stores locally love people coming in to shop. It's important that we support our local stores. However, banking online has super conveniences, and banking on your phone is kind of a remarkable feature now. So whatever bank you have, I think all of them now have accompanying apps for your phone, which means you can use the app on your phone once you've established a password with your bank. You can use the app on your phone to check your balances, to see if you remember to pay that check that you thought you paid, to see if a check is cleared. But the most miraculous thing that you can use use your phone for, again, only if you're comfortable, is you can actually deposit checks using the app on your phone. Now, you can't get money to come out of your phone, literally come out of your phone, that would be fabulous, but you can use the phone to deposit checks. So what that means is, for me, I'd never done it before, I took a trip to Germany last year, and I discovered after I arrived in Berlin, I had 3 checks that I meant to deposit in my wallet still. I had forgotten to do it before I left New York, and those 3 checks were a matter of whether or not my rent check, which I had put in the mail already, was going to bounce. So I had the 3 checks in my handbag. I'm in Berlin, and I think I'm away for 2 weeks. There's no way to get those into the bank in time. Finally decided to use my banking app. And what the banking app lets you do is you turn over the check, you endorse it like you normally would, for deposit with your name in the back. You open up the banking app, sign into it with your password, so you're the only one that can access it. It has a feature that's a camera. And so you literally take a picture of the front of the check you want to deposit, you flip it over, you take a picture of the endorsed back of the check, you type in the amount to be sure that the app has the right amount that you're depositing, and poof, the check gets deposited. Now what I do is I always fold the check over and I say deposit with phone. I literally write it on the check with the date, because I always hold on to the physical check until I see that it's been deposited into the account, just to be sure I did everything right. So just hang on to that check, but mark that you deposited so you don't try to do it twice. Hang on to it until you check the app again and you see in 2 days that the check is clear. So you can deposit checks using your banking phone app without having to go into the bank. Super duper convenient if you're comfortable with it. I don't want you to do anything you're not comfortable with, but I do think it's kind of amazing. And you can pay bills from the app, the same way you pay bills online. So if you want to sit there while you're somewhere else and pay your bills, you can do it from any place as long as you've got the phone in your hand. However, when you're using Wi-Fi in a public space, it's not impossible, although not likely, that somebody will break into the Wi-Fi and be able to access what you're doing in that moment, because they're breaking into the signal. So I would suggest that when you're using your smartphone or your tablet to bank, that you don't do it on a public Wi-Fi area. Do it at home using your Wi-Fi that you've protected with a password, or do it in an area where it's a closed Wi-Fi signal using a password, not at the library, not at the airport, not at Starbucks, just to protect yourself. It's unlikely that somebody's going to break into the signal, but not impossible when you're on public Wi-Fi. So we want to be cautious. And that's really true anytime you're in public Wi-Fi. If you're at an airport with your laptop, don't do anything involving banking or purchasing when you're in a public area, just in case somebody breaks in. I will say this. When your money in the bank is federally insured, it's everything you do on the phone is federally insured in the same way. So if there's some sort of hacking that goes on, your money is still protected by the bank. It's no less secure using your phone, but it only wants you to do what you're comfortable doing. So let me go back again to the screen sharing, because there's a couple of fun other apps that I want to show you. So what you're seeing on this screen are 4 particular apps that I think are handy and convenient to use. So the top left one is Kindle, which means you can read books on your smartphone or tablet using many different apps, but if you use a Kindle, if you already have a Kindle account, know that you can pull those Kindle books onto your device and watch them through the Kindle app. And it's interesting, let's say you're reading a book on your Kindle, right? You're reading a book on your Kindle, and now you want to finish reading it on your tablet or on your smartphone. If you have 2 different devices, it will catch up with where you were in the original book. So it'll always keep up with whatever device you read it on. It'll catch up with it with whatever device you pick up next. So let's go back to that to introduce you to these other ones that are a little bit more obscure than that. Hang on. So in the top right-hand corner, there are 2 images side by side. It's showing you an app called Price Check. Price Check allows you to use the camera on your phone when you're in a store to find the barcode on the item that you're thinking of purchasing and run it through Price Check's app, and it will tell you what the price is at that store and where a nearer store is with a more competitive price for that item. So let's say you're looking to buy a television set and you're at Best Buy and you find the set you want and you run the price bar through Price Check. It will then tell you, is that the least expensive store in your area carrying that product? So it's kind of a fascinating app in order for you to find out, maybe you can find it online for less, or maybe you can find it around the corner for less, but let this app actually tell you whether or not you're getting the best deal that you could get. So I'm gonna have to say it's sort of miraculous. The next one that I want to talk about is the one, actually I just took it off the screen for a second. There's an app in the bottom left-hand corner, the two people holding hands in the yellow. That app is called Find My Friends, and I love this app. Basically, on the app, you're able to look at anybody in your contacts that has an address listed, a physical address in their contacts, and you're able to ask permission from them if you can follow them with your phone. Now, it sounds kind of creepy, and why would you want to do it? Except when my sister is driving from Connecticut to New York to visit me, I don't want her using her phone to tell me that she's stuck in traffic. I don't want to call her and ask if she's on her way because the dinner reservation is closed and should I move it back. I don't want to communicate with her while she's driving. So with Find My Friends, I'm able, when I've asked permission and she said yes, I'm able to look at my phone and see where she is on the highway so that I know, oh, she's on her way, but oh, she's definitely running late because she should have been here already, but she's still only in Greenwich, Connecticut, right? When my goddaughter was visiting me in New York, I let her take my car. And so she went to Boston for 3 days. And I said to her, I don't want to be creepy or weird, but would you mind, since you're driving the car, if I used Find My Friend and I followed you so that when you're driving back to New York, I'm not worried about what's happened. So it can seem like an invasive app, but it also, with family or friends, it even used just because it's one trip you're going on, it's sort of nice to be able to see where they are in case they can't communicate with you via phone. So it sounds odd, and it might sound creepy to you, but think about times when it would be handy for you to be able to know where somebody is without having to call them to find out. The last one that I put on that page, let's go back there, in the bottom right-hand corner is something called Acorns, Invest the Change. And this is a fascinating app to me, because what this app does is, so it's called Acorns Invest the Change. Whenever you make a purchase online using Acorns as having a relationship with your device, if you buy something that's $12.56, it's going to take the 44 extra cents from your purchase and it's going to deposit it into an investment account with Acorns. So it's teeny amounts of change. It rounds up your purchases, and it takes those teeny amounts of change, and it goes and saves them for you and invests them. And it sounds, it's odd in many ways, but it's kind of genius when you think about it, because skimming off 40 cents here, 60 cents there, 35 cents there, and just sort of stashing it away, it's just fascinating to see how quickly it accumulates. So it's one of those apps that I actually just think is sort of fun for me, but where it's really interesting is to set up that app with your grandkids, right? So they're on Amazon and they're buying their Pokemon things or their videos or whatever it is, but they're seeing the results of just what it means to have 40 cents or 30 cents or 70 cents every day that you make a purchase being tucked away somewhere. It's sort of it's just a good educational app to share with a younger person in your life to sort of show them what it, because I think it's, I'm not sure that that's where their attentions are really going. So those 4 apps are just to illustrate to you that, there's so many different things that are available that you might not think of being particularly beneficial, but they're out there for you to use that are really fun. One more thing I want to talk about, as far as using apps and using your phone, I'm going to screen share again, is the safety of your smartphone or your tablet. So you've got this device in your hand that now you realize has endless for what apps you could put onto the device. The device also has your personal photographs, it has your contacts, it has your emails. You know, these smartphones are amazing because of what they can hold for you. But what they're also holding for you is a lot of private information. And so I think I said this the last time I was with you guys, you need to put a passcode on your smartphone or on your tablet. And I know people resist because they feel like it's a pain in the neck to have to type in the passcode or put your thumb on the device. I said this before, you don't hesitate to put the key in the lock of your home, right? That makes sense to you. I'm going to lock my door and walk away. I don't think, it's going to take me 3 minutes or 2 minutes or a minute to put the key in and turn it. You should be thinking the same way about protecting your smartphone or your tablet, because what I wager is somebody breaks into your apartment. They take your television, maybe they take your computer, maybe they find some cash. But what they don't get is your address book, all your personal photos, and all of the other things you have on the phone. So it requires protection. So to repeat the possibilities of what you can have, how you can set up a passcode is, depending on your device. The one in the top left is that you're going to type in either letters or numbers. It can be between 4 and 6 to open up your phone. The one in the center is a choice for Androids where you can actually do a pattern with your fingers on the device to open up your phone. Or you can use your fingerprint to open up your phone. A caveat to that is some people have very dry fingertips. And so sometimes if your hands are really dry, actually reading the finger doesn't work that well. In the bottom left-hand corner, what it also is showing is there's an app on your phone that helps you find your phone should you lose your phone. But should you lose your phone and it never gets back into your hands, these passcodes that I'm suggesting that you put on your phone prevent somebody, should they find your phone or steal your phone, they get the physical phone, but they don't get inside the phone to your information. And that's fundamental. What they'll do, if somebody stole your phone because you put a passcode on it, they'll just restore the whole phone to its original, what it was when it left the store. And that's how you're protected, because your information doesn't get to them, but they do ultimately keep the hard part of the phone. I'm going to go back to the screen share, and then we're going to open it up for questions in just 1 second. But since I have your attention here, we may as well just go through the website. If you haven't visited my website before, it's AskAbbyStokes.com. Everything on the website is free. What I have circled there are different social networking sites that I appear on if you want to join me there. If you haven't been to the website, there's a whole bunch of information, and there's one very specific page because I am such a fan of teachers and librarians. I believe they really are the backbone of society. I wanted to make the internet easy for them because they're also people go to them to show them technology, especially librarians. End up in libraries sort of teaching people how to use the computer. So what I did was I put a whole bunch of printable, informative, instructional documents on my website that anybody can click on those links and print them. And as you see on there is the list of almost 2/3 of the way down, 100 free recommended apps. So you can go to AskAbbyStokes.com, go to my videos, then there's a list of all of these printouts that you can find. Speaking of videos, on my website, because the book could only hold so much, I did 16 different video tutorials that walk you through how to do certain things on your computer or smartphone or tablet. One of the videos walks you through how to put a passcode onto your phone. So there's 16 videos. They're all free for you to watch. Underneath each video, it says click here for printable instructions. And that means that I provided you with step-by-step instructions, whether it's an Android, whether it's an iPhone, whether it's a computer. I break it down if they're different instructions. But I walk you through how to do the steps for what you've watched in the video. So you can have the printout beside you, or you can have the video beside you. That's an example right now of what those printouts look like, step by step, to help you. If you want to join my mailing list, you can do that on the page, just in the top right corner. Click there, put in your email address. I won't share it with anybody. And last but not least, before I take questions, I can now pitch my book for you because our restrictions are a little bit less in the space. If you don't have a copy, it's Is This Thing On? You can buy it online. You guys can buy it as a group. There's actually a discount. If 10 of you buy the book, Barry has the sales slip for this, but if 10 of you buy the book, you get a 40% discount on the cover price of the book. And if you want me to sign it, Barry knows how to do this. I can go to the publishing house and sign it before they ship the box over. So that's for you guys to discuss. Just remember the holidays are coming up. So if you want to give somebody a postcard for my book and tell them to buy the book for you, but it's really a gift to them, because you're going to stop calling them with so many questions, because the book's going to help you do what you need to do with your devices. So it's a gift to them if they buy it for you. So that's my sales pitch for now. What I want to do now is take a sip of water and take a breath, and then ask you guys if you have any questions about anything with apps or smartphones or anything generally. And Barry's got a system there, I guess, so you guys come up to the computer so that I can hear your question. If I can't hear your question, Barry will just repeat it for me.
Okay, Abby, as I always say, nobody does it better, and you've proven it again today. Let's give her a wonderful hand.